okay? If you took those ballots out one at a time and dipped them like a cookie in that coffee, you could not have gotten them all wet. And at my house, if I spilled coffee on my notebook, I simply would dry it off. These are federally protected records, and these are protected by the laws of the state of Ohio, which the Ohio legislature should be concerned with. Therefore, we would like them to look into this. One, looking back, that we want this resolved. The other issue would be looking forward. What's going to happen with the records this year? And if nothing's done to what happened in the past, why should these people behave any different this year? And we have not yet started research into have the county boards of elections already destroyed unused ballots from the May 4th primary this year. And that's something I encourage the rest of you to think about and ask those questions. Do they still have the records, or are they already destroying this year? Now, the other thing that we are looking at today, and I have record retention schedules when I finish, if any of you would like to see what it is they're supposed to follow, I have that here with me. The other thing we're asking today is I'm going to, I have a letter that we will be giving to the Inspector General, so Thomas P. Charles. And in this letter, I'm explaining some of the things that have happened with our group, bringing information to the Office of the Attorney General, and the really sad treatment that we have received. As a grassroots organization simply trying to help preserve the democracy in this country, we have taken our time away from our own families and done this work because it's what's right. We have gathered people across this nation. The Ohio Election Justice Campaign is over 80 people now, some in Ohio and some all over the nation. And they're all following the story closely and are really concerned. And many of the things that happen here in Ohio, we later find out are happening elsewhere. And some of the things happening elsewhere, we later find out than they do to us here. And it's time for basically this monkey business to stop.
Yeah.
This is serious. Yeah. So in what we're asking the Inspector General to look at, as long as he's looking at the affair Mark Dan had and misallocation of equipment and funds and how the office was used and running a construction business out of it, those things are important. And having a hostile workplace is important. But the other thing is important is when our tax money pays for that office, we also have found a very hostile environment there. We've been trying literally since last August to meet with the Attorney General. We cannot even get a return phone call. No answer at all. And when you look at the seriousness of what we have to share, and when you look at with Mark Dan as a candidate, he promised us that he would do this. We have this video up. You can see his campaign promises on one of our websites. You can watch him. And he was actually telling me, he was answering my question. He said he would arrest people, convene a grand jury, you know, he's going to stop this. And then he said, and it's something you probably heard before, there's a new sheriff in town. You know, I'm sorry, but the sheriff wasn't the one we wanted, and he had the potential of being not only an Ohio hero, but a national hero and a worldwide hero, which is one more reason it's sad to watch what has happened in the last few weeks with his career going down. And the man had the potential to have done so much to be well known and liked, with the exception of those who would steal the election. He would have been so well known for such a good thing. And now that task falls on the Inspector General, if he's up to the task. Can he look beyond these unfortunate situations in the office and look at the cover-up? From the records that I have requested, I have information where literally the upper attorneys in this office are making fun of my group, where the Office of BCI is fabricating records, where they are fabricating stories, where the information I was given them, initially I spoke with Lloyd Early and gave him information verbally. And then he said he would write a report on that, and then what we had agreed on was that then he would take this information, which I was going to add to, I sent him all of it in written form, which was a huge amount of work, and then he was going to write a report on that. especially from the written information, because it's much clearer if I give this to you written than if I told you a few things about it and you had to report on it. And from this, he was to meet with Chelsea Rice, Associate Attorney General, and her boss, Paul Scarcella, was also to look at this information. And they made the decision then that there was nothing to investigate. This goes down to the fake Homeland Security lockdown in Warren County, to the fact that in Delaware County, we now have the evidence not only of the theft of the presidential election, but also the Ohio Supreme Court. We have stories all over the state. This information was provided to them. And I get a letter later. Lloyd Early was supposed to have the meeting. The Director of Special Investigations, he has a meeting with Chelsea Rice, he told me about, and then he disappears. I can't find him. I was so frustrated. One day I wrote him and not knowing if he would get the letter or not, and I let him know that I was thinking about filing a missing persons report, because I don't know how somebody with his job position could approach me. I didn't call him. He called me to ask for information. I gave him a huge amount and told him that wasn't everything, and I would provide more when I saw that they did action, because it was a huge amount of work for me to do this. And instead he disappears. And that, once again, is so rude, and just wrong. And then I contacted Chelsea Rice, or tried to, phone calls and emails, to find out what happened to him. Where is he? What happened? You had this meeting. He told me that you guys would be investigating. And he let me know they wouldn't follow every story, but they would be able to do something with it. And all I got from her was a letter that said that there's nothing to investigate. That letter also is up on one of our websites, so you can see it, you can have copies of it. So from there, I've done record requests, and there's more coming from the Attorney General's office on seeing the interaction between the attorneys and Jessica Udovich, his scheduler, who Mark Dan had the affair with, who I was trying to schedule a meeting with, and it appears that they were busy doing other things rather than looking at the important story I was trying to share with them. And we had election people from all over the country ready to come in and help to update them, teach them, give them the stories and where to go if they didn't know. And it was apparent they didn't know because nothing happened. So we take all this forward. I hope that the Inspector General will do something. We have massive amounts of documentation on the election issues, and I encourage you all to just ask us this year. If you're wondering about things or stories, the amount of documentation we have is huge, and we are very open to sharing all of it. If any of you have any questions, let me know.
Do you think it was appropriate to seize all of Mark Dan's records for the, the hostile work environment, or is the work using public funds for his construction business part of that? It seems like pretty heavy-handed to seize all those computers.
My concern with those computers that we all saw being carted out is that there are records that I requested that are in those computers. And in my letter to the Inspector General, I'm asking that as I continue with my record request through Jeffrey Clark, that I still be able to get what's on those computers. And I don't know what the procedure is during an investigation, but these are things I asked for before the computers were taken. And with those computers, the important thing is, now, correct or not, that I have no say on that. My interest in this is now that he has them, that he really look at them. He not just look at the construction stuff or the affair and things like that, but he's got all these election records. He's got the inter-office emails. I mean, when you look at it all, when you look at what I've given, there's a huge cover-up going there. I mean, fabrication of documents, too, is real serious. And so, as long as he's looking at those records, he needs to really look at those records and look at this issue also.